All right, let's dive right into this explainer. Welcome, everyone. Today we are unpacking something absolutely massive. We're looking at a transmedia puzzle so intricate, so sprawling, that it's sparked literally countless theories, deep dives, and yeah, even serious academic papers. It's known as the BTS Universe or the BU. And hey, even if you think you know absolutely nothing about K-pop, stick with me here, because at its core, this is just a fundamentally fascinating story about fate, control, and what it actually means to grow up. Picture this for a second. You open your eyes, and it's the exact same day it was yesterday. And no matter what you do, no matter how hard you try, the six people you care about most in the entire world are destined to meet terrible, tragic ends. This is the incredibly high-stakes, literal sci-fi nightmare that our protagonist, Kim Sok-jin, finds himself trapped in. Before we even figure out the boundaries of this whole universe, we're thrown straight into his desperate, horrifying reality. And the crazy part is, this nightmare isn't just contained to one medium. The sheer scale of the Bangtan universe is honestly staggering. It all started back in 2015 with a single music video called I Need You, but man, it did not stop there. The story fractured. It spread across actual physical diary entries hidden inside album booklets. It became a 15-episode Naver webtoon called Save Me. There was even a fictional blog about a made-up flower called the Smeraldo, and eventually full-length novels. It is an absolute masterclass in transmedia storytelling, and it basically demands that the audience actively piece the narrative together like a giant puzzle. Part 1. The April 11 Time Loop. A desperate mission to save 6 friends. Okay, so the timeline Jin is up against is chaotic and completely breathless. He wakes up on the morning of April 11th, right? By that night, his friend Namjoon gets locked up after a fight at a gas station. A month later, Jungkook falls from a building. Shortly after that, Yoongi is caught in a deadly hotel fire. And that doesn't even cover Hoseok's narcolepsy on a bridge, Jimin getting trapped in a hospital, or Taehyung making this fatal, violent mistake with his abusive father. Jin basically has to sprint across the city, predicting every single move, trying to intervene just in the nick of time. So you've got to wonder, right? Can Jin actually fix this? Can he outsmart time itself, rewrite his friends' destinies, and finally break free from this loop? Well, the answer is brutal. He fails. Over and over and over again. The really dark reality of this time loop is that every single time he fixes one problem, the butterfly effect kicks in and triggers a massive disaster somewhere else. If he saves Namjoon, he loses Jungkook. If he pulls Yoongi out of the fire, well, they end up in a fatal car crash instead. The emotional weight of this constant, inevitable failure is just staggering. There's actually this incredibly detailed fan theory online that lines up perfectly with the source material, and it breaks down Jin's attempts into these distinct eras that he meticulously tracks in his journal. In the first era, he watches his friends get torn apart by corruption, so he hits reset. In the second era, they succumb to temptation and evil. He dies, goes back to his room, writes in the journal, and resets again. By the third era, he tries a totally new tactic. He keeps them all apart, hoping they can just be happy on their own. But nope, even that ends with someone getting hit by a car or falling down some stairs. It's just an endless cycle of disaster. Part 2. The cycle of fake love, realizing the fatal flaw in his mission. The entire turning point of this universe hinges on one very specific concept: an epiphany. After watching his friends suffer over and over again, Jin has this sudden, massive realization about the nature of his control over them. He thought he was doing the right thing, obviously, but he was completely missing something fundamental. He realizes that his relentless obsession with saving them, trying to perfectly orchestrate their lives so they'd never get hurt, was actually a form of fake love. It wasn't really about them. It was driven by his own need for satisfaction and control. And it all leads him to ask this incredibly profound question: how could I love others when I don't love myself? This is the huge breakthrough. He realizes he cannot save his friends and escape the time loop all by himself. He absolutely has to let go of that solitary control. In the climax of the webtoon, it finally clicks for him that preventing their miseries actually requires them to work together. He can't just play puppet master from the shadows anymore. He has to trust his friends to face their own trials. Part 3. Breaking the binary, the real-world stakes behind the fiction. Now, this is where things get really deep. We're stepping out of pop culture fiction and into some serious academic analysis. An article from the Interdisciplinary Journal of Popular Culture and Pedagogy uses the BTS Universe, specifically their short film series, to explore these incredibly deep cultural allegories. They even draw direct parallels to John Milton's classic epic, Paradise Lost.
To really grasp the weight of this, we need to look at a pretty stark number highlighted in the research: 26. Specifically, 26 per 100,000 people. That was the South Korean suicide rate back in 2021, the absolute highest among OECD countries, with it being the leading cause of death for people aged 10 to 39. The academic paper grounds the fictional struggles of the BTS characters in this devastating real-world reality, pointing out that feelings of worthlessness from failing to conform are a massive contributing factor here.
The researchers laid out two totally different mindsets that the universe contrasts. On one side, you've got the binary, or Eden, mindset. This is Jin's early strategy, trying to force this perfect, safe environment by rigidly adhering to older generations' norms, strictly conforming, and being absolutely terrified of making even a single mistake. But on the other side is the metamorphosis, or Demian mindset, which takes inspiration from Hermann Hesse's novel. This is what happens when youths finally embrace free will, break the rules, and realize that trials and mistakes aren't just failures. They're vital resources you literally need in order to grow.
Part 4. The Epiphany of Self-Discovery. What the BTS Universe teaches us.
So, what's the big takeaway here? This analysis provides a really powerful framework for self-discovery. It highlights how the story empowers its viewers to finally overcome that paralyzing fear of making mistakes. It challenges us to walk out of those black and white binary perspectives, push way beyond established social norms, and truly discover our own multifaceted identities. By taking ownership of their free will, just like Jin finally doing the hard thing and allowing his friends to face their own messy lives, youths can experience grace rather than some catastrophic downfall. We've seen how a really complex pop culture narrative can perfectly mirror deeply rooted societal issues, all while offering a genuine roadmap for finding autonomy. So I want to leave you with this incredibly vital question posed by the academic paper. It's a thought for educators, for society, and honestly for all of us. To avoid the traps of a stagnant Eden, and to stop treating every single mistake like it's the end of the world, what pedagogical environments do youths need to fully express themselves? Give that some thought. Thank you so much for exploring this totally fascinating universe with me today.